While I was at the loft, I was told of noises coming from the fan zone. Someone's calling out saying there are women and children in need of help. No one told me that the message sounds like it's pre-recorded and keeps playing on a loop. I wonder if this is going to be the same as Hansen's group back in the slums.
To anyone who can hear this, our situation is dire. There are women and children here. We can offer electronic equipment and ammunition in exchange for medicine, food, and drinking water. Please, help us.
When I got inside, the only way up was the elevator. Soon as the doors opened, I was nearly sick at the sight I found. Place was a bloodbath with bodies littered about. I had to find the key card to the broadcast room before I could shut off the message. Fuck do I wish I hadn't. Soon as I turned off the computer transmitting the message, the voice changed. This time he sounded like a complete basket case, saying he's killed women and children here and could offer me death for my food and water. All I could do was roll my eyes at the fact that this was a trap. Luckily, I brought my rifle just in case, and after a quick shootout, he was down and out. The hunter became the hunted. Fucking bastard deserved worse. There's a safe zone over on the northeast side of town that I stopped at for a quick break. Spoke with some of the survivors to see if they needed anything. The gentleman in charge of the stockroom told me they were low on almost everything, but there was a rumor of a supply cache hidden somewhere in the city. Unfortunately, the only man who would know of its whereabouts is the Old Town clerk. Upon my mentioning that I'll pay him a visit, I was warned. The old man can be very bureaucratic about these things, even while the world's gone to hell. I found Thabit locked away in his old office, which he had turned into a safe house for himself. Guy just can't let go of his old ways. I told him I needed to find the supply bunker, to which he responded with a list of forms that I needed to fill out in order to gain access. When I told him I had neither the time nor the patience, he told me to employ the more traditional way of speeding government work up: bribery. He wants me to go find the official seal stamp of the mayor. Last Thabit heard, the mayor was staying at the nearby hotel. For what reason, I've no idea. Looks like we're heading back inside a hotel. The hotel was more upscale than the last one we were in. Still though, it was eerily quiet, aside from the Zeds that were locked behind doors that they couldn't get through. Since there weren't many roaming inside, I was able to deal with them quickly before finding what room the mayor was staying in. When I got the seal back to Thabit, he gloated how he was about to generate reams of official paperwork under the mayor's seal. Not like any of that's official these days anyway, so I didn't bother worrying. After his power trip, he told me the supply cache was underneath the town hall. Time to go see what's down there. Once inside, I took care of the Zeds and scavenged for anything useful on the ground floor before heading downstairs. Upon finding a locked door that needed a key card to open, I was informed by Thabit that said card was in the possession of the police chief, who is now shambling around a couple blocks west. What he neglected to tell me was the chief was now a goddamn demolisher! After taking him down, I grabbed the key and headed back to town hall. Thabit met me there, holding an Egyptian khopesh. He tried to lay claim to the bunker by order of the mayor. Of course, a bookie can never hold up to a runner in a fight, much as he tried. The first area of the bunker was a collection of living quarters. Used living quarters. I searched for anything that could be used before heading further down into the storage room, where I radioed Deshaun to let him know we hit the jackpot. Savvy called over the comms, saying there was someone yelling about running into a group of bandits. Down in the south end of O-Town, we can see red smoke coming from one of the roofs. I went to investigate, and found a runner that had been knocked off his ass by a bullet to the leg. said his name was Spider, and that he was trying to get the items he had to a guy called David. He said that David knew what the source of the pandemic was, and that items Spider had could help prove it. Thanks to Crane, we know how this all started, but I'm curious to see what this David guy says. According to Spider, there were 3 items left to collect, and before I left, he told me where to find them. After gathering them, as well as dealing with even more crying baby zombies and runner Zeds attracted to the noise, I once again used my catchphrase of "fuck it" and went to David. When I got there, the poor bastard was being held up by 6 of Rise's thugs, 5 of which had guns. Yay, another gunfight that'll attract Zeds. Just what I fucking wanted. Once I got David untied and handed over the items, I asked what in the hell was going on, to which he proceeded to explain he knew where the virus came from. A meteorite landed just north on the other side of a small lake near the edge of town. Nutjob thinks the virus came from space. I radioed David when I got across the lake, letting him know I couldn't spot anything special around. He told me that the shards react to green light, and that a hazmat team had set up said lights in various spots to help find them. Once I kicked on the generator, I went about looking for them. Would have been easier at night, but as I've said before, I ain't doing that shit again. Especially since the generator made a fucking racket loud enough to draw in plenty of Zeds to deal with while I looked. A couple of them were underwater, while the rest were wedged into the side of the nearby cliff faces. With my pockets full of fresh shiny rocks, I headed back up to David for a full explanation. Turns out the meteorite pieces are supposed to be the energy source for a gun to eliminate the gadoids. A reptilian race, David says, arrived here on Earth eons ago. I heard Crane call for Troy over the radio. By the sounds of it, Rise had Jade kidnapped and took her to a museum, which turned out to be the old castle on the south end of Old Town. Of course Rise would use a literal fucking fortress as a base. Troy said Crane should look for the old custodian. He'll be able to help us get inside. I called over the comms to let Crane know I'll meet him by the castle when he's ready. We need to rescue Jade. Hell or high water. According to the custodian, the only way we'd be able to sneak our asses inside the museum was via an underwater passage hidden in the lake. Since we knew what we were up against, we went in armed to the teeth, ready for one hell of a showdown. The swim was long enough to make me feel like my lungs were gonna pop, but we managed to make it through the flooded basement to an area where we could climb up. That was the easy part. Once we were finally in and across a few long drops that led nowhere, we found ourselves looking down into a small courtyard. That's when the real work began. Though we were able to take out the 2 guards standing there quietly, Rise was waiting for us up on the balcony of the inner courtyard. After Crane bitched him out for taking Jade, his goons were on us. Place was full of stone slabs and pillars, giving both sides ample cover. You could tell which side was the more experienced, however, seeing as the Rise flunkies were throwing makeshift grenades and blowing each other up. We plowed through every last one of Rise's thugs, the asshole himself taunting us over the loudspeakers while we pushed forward. Finally, after pushing through the final waves of guards, as well as a room full of Zeds, we made it to Jade. We weren't out of the fucking woods yet. After we reached Jade, Rise decided to gloat about how he had been listening to every radio communication we had. All of us at the tower. Bastard's been listening to us this whole fucking time! And like the evil bitch that he is, he let loose a horde of Zeds on us to deal with. Since we'd come prepared to deal with anything, it didn't take us long to kill off the Zeds. But things went from bad to worse. Jade collapsed, and Rise informed us she had been bitten hours ago. Like the sociopath he is, he tossed down only one dose of antizin. Who should get it? Jade or Crane? Crane started having his worst seizure yet, knocking my ass on the floor in the process. Before I was able to shake it off and get back to my feet, however, Jade had taken the antizin and injected it into Crane while he had her in a chokehold. As he came to, he released her, only for Rise to send a few of his thugs to kill us. Jade was able to take them out with ease. But as she dealt with the last one, she turned. And Crane had to end it like we did with Raheem. Before we were able to get out, we had one last loose end to deal with. Tahir. Rise sent him down on us like a dog and ran off like a fucking coward. Though Tahir had backup, they were no match for both Crane and myself. We recovered the tissue samples that were taken from Jade, and left that hellhole quickly. Crane radioed Troy to fill her in on the situation, and to ask if Savvy found a way to break through the jamming. She said he did, but we'd need to attach an amplifier to a radio antenna to make it work. Just what we need, another goddamn climb. We went to meet up with Troy in a safe zone on the northeast side of Old Town. There, she gave us the amp and told us the best way to the antenna we needed to reach was through the sewers. Luckily for us, this time we have Savvy to guide us through. Why can't we ever go through summer without a heap load of trouble? Crane heard a kid crying. When we investigated, it turned out to be a screamer Zed. Though we tried to shut it up quickly, it wasn't quick enough. We had 3 waves of Zeds piling toward us, both runners and normal walkers, till a goddamn demolisher burst through the makeshift wall. Fuck that noise. We pulled out our guns, not caring how much noise we made at that point. I even used several of my explosive arrows. Once it was finally dealt with, we headed for the exit, which turned out to be part of a dam. After surviving what was by far the longest free fall we've ever done, Crane joked about how one day we were bound to land on a bag of rusty knives, before calling Savvy over the radio. He told us we needed to search the containers set up around the antenna for a key card. Without it, there wouldn't be any way to get power to the rig. Apparently, the last guy they sent to do this made it that far, before going dark. As to be expected, there were Zeds scattered about the place. A couple bombers, a toad, and a goon. The pair of us made quick work of them before looking inside the containers for the keycard. The first stack came up empty, and of course, the second group of stacks had a pair of demolishers guarding it. Fuck my sanity at this point. I pulled out my rifle and just started shooting. I didn't care anymore. Once all the Zeds were finally dead once more, we found the key card in one of the smaller containers. Savvy told us we needed to use it on the door to the small maintenance building at the base of the antenna tower. Let's get this over with. The fence surrounding the antenna was topped with barbed wire. Luckily, we were able to use the hillside it's nestled against to our advantage and jumped over. Carefully, we used the 3 bombers that were inside the fence to take out several of the Zeds. Once the rest of the undead were dead once more, we entered the substation and kicked the transformer to life. After that, Savvy said we had to turn on the control panel at the base of the mast. All that was left was to climb.